record?
Yeah, we good.
All right, my name is Kyle Wright. This is for Education 1300. I'm with
Landon Davis.
Landon Davis. This is for my teacher interview. To start out, I would like to ask a question. Aside from teaching, like, tell me a little bit about yourself without, not in the context of teaching.
All right. So I'm married. I have 4 kids. I'm the pastor of a church, and I was raised. My dad was a pastor, so my whole life I was raised trying to help people. So that had a lot to do with my influence to be here.
Okay.
And I can kick your tail in basketball.
All right.
All right.
So we're gonna continue on. How long have you been teaching? What grade level and or subject areas have you taught, or are you teaching now?
I think this is my, I can't remember if it's my 22nd or 23rd. I think it's my 23rd year. And I have taught, I taught GED classes. I was the director of an English second language program for adults. And then I've taught high school, a little bit of junior high, mostly high school math. So right now I'm doing 9 through 12. A pretty sweet gig. I'm doing the pre-AP classes for each, so that I've got like continuity walking up. So if they don't do good in the 12th grade year, it's my fault. Starting this year, I'm able to walk them all the way up. So kind of a cool mix right now.
So you've done math your whole career?
Yeah, with GED, I did a little bit of everything. It's a little more flexible, so you're not just like tied to whatever your core content area is. We kind of helped each other. So that was neat. I really enjoyed that, but since then, yeah, I've just been math straight through.
Okay. Who or what influenced your decision to become a teacher?
Well, several things. It fit with my personality. I like people. I'm not really task oriented. I went to college, and I couldn't determine a major. I learned stuff really quick, so I don't mean this in a bad way, but like I could pick up stuff really fast, and so it was described as I had the mind of a doctor and the mindset of a mechanic, and that's pretty accurate. Like I can learn stuff, but like I wanted to interact with people and to talk and to so I was trying to find something that fit with me, and so I took a job. Initially, it was a business job with the GED school, helping in the office, and they ended up being short a teacher one day, so I just filled in on a whim, and it went really well. And so they're like, hey, you should think about this teacher thing. And so I was like, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing in my career. Why not? So there you go. So it worked out, and like I said, my dad, I guess, my dad was a pastor, but did a lot of teaching and at church, and then individually helping people, everything from not just spiritual stuff, but teaching them how to balance their checkbook. You'd be surprised the things you have to do, and so that's what I saw all my life too. So it really came natural to me.
Mm-hmm. What do you enjoy most about teaching?
Definitely the people. I'm a people person, so that's it. Yeah, like the interaction. That's definitely the coolest part. It's cool, like seeing people like you doing well afterwards. You know what I mean? Like we don't get the credit for it. We don't deserve the credit for it. You did the work, but it is cool to know that we contributed in some small way. I've had jobs where I made better pay than I did as a teacher, potentially a whole lot better. But it's not, for me, it's not rewarding afterwards. I'm not a big money and stuff guy, so you know what I mean. Like I'm kicking it, my own beat up minivan. That's fine. Yeah, I'm not as satisfied making more money, but it doesn't really matter to help anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing.
Okay. What do you enjoy least about teaching?
I don't really have a lot of gripes, to be honest. I really like it. I like coming to work. Every teacher doesn't feel like doing PD sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone, there's just stuff within a job though. It's not worth griping about. There's a few things. Like you always have outside influence. The State Department's involved. There's all these people involved, and I guess they need to be. But it's like you're trying to do your class, and then like this is what the state expects. This is what the school expects. And so. But in the end, I guess it's all good. It's the only way to make sure people are doing what they're supposed to do. So you can't really gripe about it. But you get like as a teacher in a lot of ways, like you're it's almost like running your business or something to some degree. Like there's a lot of autonomy, even with you getting feedback from your principal, and like we now have a instructional facilitator here. You get feedback on it, but in the end, like day to day, you're kind of doing your own thing. You know what I mean? And so sometimes like when you're being pushed, okay, we want to try this, we want to try this, then it's like, man, look, this is, you know, this is my world. We do it my way kind of thing, and you can't be that way though, because it is the only way, like, to have continuity within the school, like to make sure that, and to help new like, so you just have to. So it's not even a legitimate grind, but it's like the one thing where like it can catch you on the wrong day and you're like, oh man, like this week we had to do like a practice atlas test for the school. I have to like change my lesson plans to make it fit because they wanted it this week. And I'm like, bummer, man. Like I could have done this after spring break, you know. But that's any job. Like there's always stuff, you know.
So for teaching, when and how do you plan?
So always before the school year starts. Like I'm gonna go through, see with our calendar, like things I know that maybe can interfere with our learning. Like you kind of, the start of the year, you see what's gonna happen. So, all right, we're gonna have these days, this week's homecoming, and you know, so those days we're not gonna accomplish much. Like the kids are gonna be checked out. So you're kind of like going through like, all right, how many good days do I have? How many days are there gonna be interruptions? And so I'm starting with what I know I want to cover, and then I start out there, and then. Now it helps now that I'm going to have the same kids each year. I know what they know, what they've covered. You know, before our math department's kind of been in flux the last few years. So I'm a teacher for a year and then leaving, and someone else comes in. So like I don't really know what I'm getting. So it's been harder to plan. So initially though, I'll just start out. It's okay. I've got these many days to work. Ideally, this is how much I have to cover, and then this is how many like bonus days I have if I need to double up on something that's harder. And then you narrow it down then, unit-wise, okay, I'm gonna cover this unit in about, so like even once I get my kids, if I can see they're a little behind, and I'm like, all right, so this is gonna take me a little longer, so I wanna hit this unit, you know, I wanna finish it within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And then you break it down week by week, and you're like, all right, this week is what, so like every week when I'm coming in, I have an idea, this is how the week's gonna go. And then, I mean, so we're supposed to have lesson plans in every week, you know, I try to. I might slip sometimes, but in my head, they're always there. You know, like this is what I got. Like I always know where I'm going, what day my test is going to fall. And then you plan your instruction. So this year my prep period is 7th period, so I'll look the day before just to refresh again what I'm going to do the next day. And then I do a lot of my best thinking in the morning. I have so many kids. I have 4 boys, so there's like no peace at my house. So in the morning, I wake up at 5 every day, so before anybody's awake. And then that gives me time, like, to get everything straight, organized. Sometimes I'll get like a creative burst, you know, right before I start, like, oh man, this is, okay, so this is how I can like show this where it's a little more interesting or whatever, you know. So some of that happens in the morning. So it's just a process all the way through.
I got you. What kind of technology do you use in the classroom?
In the classroom, we do everything on my smartboard, obviously, and we're integrating computers a little bit more, especially with some of our testing stuff we're doing, and some like the sites. There's things we can do with math there, but it's not heavy. Typically, ours is calculators and then smartboard. There's not a lot of excessive technology in ours.
I got you.
Now, I have done like I taught it at a New Tech school, and so basically everything was technology there, and everything was project based. It was a completely different way of teaching, everything kind of upside down, and then I mean. Kids were showing me technology, everything we were like discovering stuff together too, you know. So, I mean, you can teach well with a lot of technology. You can teach well with a little technology. Just kind of use what you got and what fits your kids.
For sure. So how do you get to know your students better, and what diverse groups are present in your classroom?
Man, I talk to everybody like all the time. So, in my class. Even more so than when I had you. When I first got here, you know, I was filling out the school, because like every school has its own culture.
Yeah.
And now I've got a good grasp on how everything's going. So like, I'm very much at the start of the year, pretty strict, really strict, honestly now. Like I've even tightened up more. And not super like the first, I'll ask them about themselves or have them like tell me, but I'm kind of standoffish initially. Just to kind of set the expectations. what I found is like up front, if I'm running it and everything's popping just like I want it, it really doesn't take long for people to get trained, and then I can back off, and I can be very personable, and they won't go too far. You know, you can't ever, if you do it the other way, you never get control again. Like if you're too cool up front, and then you're like, oh, it's out of control, I gotta tighten it, you can't tighten up,
Yeah.
you know? So I start tight for a couple weeks, so I don't know them well. I mean, 2 weeks in, I really don't know them, like, very much at all. Like, I'm still kind of a stranger in the room with them. Then about maybe that third week, you know, I'm kind of a little more end of a month, then after that, once they're comfortable with what's expected and they feel like they can succeed, and they're not gonna get in trouble like randomly. I'm running the class the same every day. And so it allows them to be more open too, you know, and then then I'm able to be way more personable. Like once I've got everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, then I can talk to them about other things, and we're still getting, you know, so I catch them in the hall, catch them in the class. At this point, we're a small school, I know people's families, you know, like Maddox in my class, I'm like, oh, all right, Colin, all right, I know it, you know, and so you just, the biggest deal is like, just if you care. I mean, that's it, honestly. Like, it doesn't matter your personality, it doesn't matter your background. If you care, that's universal. And so, like, here we have some really poor kids, we have some middle class kids, we have some kids that have access to more money than I have access to, you know, in the same little school. And we've got really, really redneck country that I know, I mean, that's a whole different world. I know nothing about that world. I don't hunt, I don't fish, I don't do anything. And then we've got, you know, we've got all different races, like, it's universal, it doesn't matter. If you just show you care, it's all good, you know what I mean? Like, that's all it takes.
Do you believe teaching is a profession? Why not? And do you belong to any professional organizations?
I mean, obviously it's a profession. I do not belong to any professional organizations right now. And I don't. I've done a lot of training and a lot of, but no, I'm not. But we do, like, I don't think I have to be a professional organization to be a professional. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think I should behave professionally. I should, and that's in the classroom, but outside too, like staying caught up with what's going on. And a lot of that, you also have PD opportunities you take advantage of. I try to do whatever I can do, but like I'm not a part of like a teachers union or anything like that. You know, I think just about any professional organization you get, from my experience, they're not limited to your field. So like, there's a lot of, you know, if you're in a teachers union, then your money's going to pay political candidates and stuff. Well, I don't want someone else paying for my political candidate, for one way or the other, conservative or whatever. If I want to give money, I want to give it myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very independent in my thinking. So you still have to be a professional, and you learn from the community. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff with the co-op. I've been involved in some things, volunteer things, something like, but in the end, so yes, you need to be professional, but I'm not tied to any actual like organization at this point.
I got you. Describe the process of teaching in one sentence.
Ooh,
It's a hard question. I feel like.
one
In
sentence.
one sentence.
Snap. Man. I would say you're teaching when you share, enable, and inspire.
I like it. I like it. What advice would you give a student who is thinking about becoming a teacher?
Do it, 100%. Do it, and like don't do it halfway. That's the thing. Like if you jump in, you know, it's not just about having the summers off. Like go all in. If you're gonna do it, learn your content, stick with it. You get better. Like a lot of, you know, one of the things with teaching is they're like enthused because maybe they had a teacher that like meant the world to them, or maybe it's just like like they romanticize it a little bit. And then when you get in the classroom, like it's a job. You know, like there's times you got a boss and you may not like what they're saying. You may have coworkers that can hit you the wrong way one day. You have teenagers acting like teenagers. Like it is what it is, you know. And so if you have this perfect vision in your head, that's not going to happen. And especially the first couple years, because there's a science to teaching, but there's a lot more of an art, and it's like unique to every person. So like your room is going to reflect your personality. Your delivery is going to be different than my delivery. You know what I'm saying? Like the way your interpersonal connection with people is going to be totally different. And like it helps the school for all these different individuals because we all relate to kids a little different to each other. Like so you bring these diverse perspectives together and you can build something really cool. First couple years though, you're still finding your way. You know, 2 or 3 years, I'm figuring out, all right, so how do I like kids and discipline kids at the same time? How do I make it fun but then not lose control? And some people quit. Some people just kind of give up and quit trying. You know, they just kind of settle where they're at. And there's nothing in the world that you get much out of if you don't put much into. If you're gonna do it, then go all in, do it, and then you enjoy it, and like you start seeing the fruit of your labors.
For sure. If you weren't teaching, what would you be doing?
Well, right now I pastor a church as well, and I'm nearing where I'm eligible to have all my 4 years in for retirement. At some point, I think that is my highest calling in my life. So at some point, that's where I'll transition to. You know, within, I mean, you know, this is still teaching. So, but if I wasn't teaching math, I'd be coaching basketball. I almost have made the jump a couple times, and I just because I'm pastor. Like I'm just time-wise, I'm trying to have a family. I can't make it happen. But there's still like a part of me who's like, one day, you know, one day my kids are gonna get grown, and I'm gonna be back in the gym, baby. Yeah. But truly, like, I mean, from my perspective, I'm a believer, and I feel like God put me on earth to help people, and where He gifted me the most, honestly, is in my pastoral role. I think it's where I'm most effective, it's where I'm most fulfilled, and the teaching goes with it. I mean, obviously you're not evangelizing kids in the classroom, but the same like heart for people is for both. You know, you're helping in different ways. You're addressing different needs, but
it's funny the wording you use because this is the very last question, but the last question is actually, do you believe that teaching was your calling in life? I mean, I don't think it necessarily had to be high school. I was very fulfilled teaching GD. I was very fulfilled teaching English, man. So when I started, if I could have made enough money doing that, I probably would have done that until I retired or died. So this was when I took jobs in GD and I filled in. The first time I filled in for a class, so I'm just a little office guy. You know, I'm like inputting stuff as people come in. And brand new on the job, it's like my first week. And our ESL teacher doesn't show up. I don't even know what ESL is. So my boss comes in, he's like, hey, can you cover? Yeah. I'm like, sure, I guess, you know. I mean, I'm not that good at a lot of things, but I lack confidence. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go give it a shot and see what happens. So I walk to the class. I don't even know what ESL is. Like I legit have no idea what I'm supposed to be teaching. And it's like class, like the students are already there. So I walk in, there's like 5 Hispanic people, and this is level 0. Like they don't know 3 words of English, and I never took any Spanish. I mean, the only Spanish I knew was like whatever, you know, Speedy Gonzalez said in the cartoons or whatever. Like I didn't know anything, and so I started making stuff up. So I've never taught anything before. I just started drawing pictures on the board, and I'm like having emotion with my hands. They're telling me how to say it in Spanish. I'm telling them how to say it in English, and then we laugh at each other, and then we draw another picture. Like I'm totally winging everything. So I get down, it's like, whew, that was fun. It was probably a disaster. Well then, so that's on a Tuesday. On Thursday, the class comes back, and it's like double in size. And so my boss is like, man, we've been trying to get this program off the ground for years. He's like, we can't hold students. He said, they want you to teach them again. Will you go do it again? So I'm like, I guess, man. So my class grew, and within like 2 or 3 weeks, we wouldn't fit in the classroom. And so we hired a new teacher. And so this was our recruiting strategy. I would, as they came in, man, I'd like make popcorn and drink lemonade with them, like just caring for them, because I didn't know the language. And I got better at it though. I got to actually be pretty good at teaching English.
And so it's like some cool success stories out of it. But initially, I didn't know what I was doing. But man, you have people who are like in another country, they don't know the language, they're coming, some of them, they dropped out of school when they were in 3rd, 4th grade, and they're like nervous to be at school on top of it all, and giving them popcorn, patting them on the back and drinking Kool-Aid, man, it was cool, like, and so they kept coming and bringing it, and eventually, my boss is like, hey, we don't need to keep you in the office, you need to go get trained, and we want you to be the director of our ESL program for the GED. And so we had several hundred students after like a year or two, and we started with like 3, 4. I mean, like we didn't have anything. So we had to bring in trailers and set them, like it was cool, man. So we're hiring all these teachers, and so that's where I was like, so it was kind of just fell into my lap a little bit, but I feel like that's maybe my gift, I think that's what I was called to do, and it's translated pretty well in whatever I've done with it. So.
Yes, sir. Well, that would be the end of our interview. I want to thank Mr. Davis. Any additional comments?
No, man, I'm proud of you. That's
Yes,
all.
sir.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you. You good, thank you.